Okay. Hello everyone. We're here. We're live. Acha, it's not live, guys. It's not live. We can relax.
So hey guys,
All this way editing out? All this way editing out or what?
No way, bro. So this is Gaurav. So let me just quickly introduce this guy who just said hey to y'all. He is a screenwriter. He's an FTI alumni. He's a director, and yeah, he's a very dear friend. That's him.
Thanks, Kush. So our plan basically was for everyone, since this is the first episode of our podcast, we thought we'll start by introducing each other. So that was my introduction by Kushraz. I'm going to introduce Kushraz now. Kushraz is also a screenwriter. He is a poet. He is a Sufi at heart. He is an actor, a director, and all of those things mishmash into one man. That's Kushraz for you.
Yeah.
And
So I don't think we have anybody here to introduce Mr. Rideep.
unfortunately.
Cool, Gaurav, go for it.
But so Barot is the third piece of the puzzle. Barot is basically, so Kush and me have a background in film, but Barot is the audience for us. Barot's the guy who, when we get too intellectual about things, he's gonna bring us back into the ground and tell us that, you know what, guys, y'all are full of bullshit.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Luke and the Heartthrob.
Is Romina here? Who's that guy?
He's yours.
You're not gonna tell me.
I heard from you in over a year. You just took off.
My son and I should be around him. I wasn't around my dad. Look the way I turned out.
How are you going to take care of us?
I can't think of another line of work that I'd rather be in.
You're so smart, you can do anything you want. Just don't understand why you're doing this.
I'm a cop, Jeb.
You got a kid, you want to provide for that kid, you got to do that using your skill set. And your skill set, Shazam.
All right, everybody who wants to live, put your hands in the air.
105 in pursuit of suspect.
104, I got a visual on a motorcycle.
Tell him it's for me. I'm still his father. I can give him stuff.
Hey, I'm Officer DeLuca. We're here to search your house.
What for?
We're looking for the money that Luke Glanton may or may not have given to you.
14 grand.
The lion's share is going to our hero.
This is your problem. This is our problem, and I'm bringing it to your attention because that's what I should do.
I want to do two in one day.
Yo, get up!
I'm not gonna let you bring us both down.
There's a way out of this. You're not gonna like it.
You know something, Luke? If you ride like lightning, you're gonna crash like thunder.
Guys, let's get into it. Today we are gonna discuss the film called The Place Beyond the Pines. Okay, so this film is Gaurav's choice, and he made both of us watch it. So it's over to him. And bro, why make us watch this film? What's so special about it? Go for it. Start.
Okay. So, Kush, I thought I was the one who was going to be interviewing y'all, but you threw the question at me only.
I'm just giving you the floor to start, bro.
Okay. So yeah, guys, the first movie, basically every week, or at least for a start, Kush and me are going to be choosing one film each, and my choice for this week was The Place Beyond the Pines. And so my feelings for the film, or why I chose the film, was, I mean, it's a film that spoke to me on a very deep level, and it wasn't the first time I've watched it either. I've watched it 3 or 4 times now, and I keep coming back to it. I keep revisiting it. So the reason for me to choose this was also that I wanted to figure out my own feelings for it. What is it about this film that has me not being able to get enough of it. That wants me to keep coming back and somehow revisiting the themes of the film, and somehow it's struck me on a very subliminal sort of a level, which is why I asked these two guys to watch it, and I wanted their thoughts on it. So let's just start by you guys summarizing your feelings for the film. Just right off the top of your head, what did you all really feel about the film?
Aro, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So essentially, I thought that I mean, I didn't expect the film to be the way it turned out to be. It was a very unexpected story, and like what made it unique was that, I mean, it was very obviously divided into like a 3-part act, and what was really unique was that if you didn't really know that the casting was Ryan Gosling and Bradley Cooper, uh, the fact that Ryan Gosling dies in like the first like fucking 45 minutes is, or I think even lesser than that, was just, it made the film so unique, and the ironic part is that what I really liked is the way they wrote the characters. Even though Bradley Cooper is the traditional good guy, I think as the audience we fell in love more with Gosling's character. So it was very sad to see him die, and that's what, like, I think when he died, it really gripped me onto the film overall. And like what Gaurav, what you said, like, it spoke to me also on a very subliminal level, which I can't really articulate as well, in terms of it just helped, like, I was trying to understand what type of emotions they're trying to actually experiment with in this film. And uh, I think, and it was pretty interesting to see that the first act was focusing, I think, on love. The second act was focusing more on guilt, and the third one was focusing more on friendship. So it was pretty, and it was pretty interesting to see at the end how all three of those came together. So yeah, those are just some overall thoughts on the film that I have.
Bro, so I love the way how he summarized the 3 acts into love, guilt and friendship. I really love that, bro. But okay, so personally, I don't like I wanted to watch this film since a long time, but I never really got around to watching. And this guy Gaurav Ahuja over here, he made me watch it, and bro, I was heartbroken. Like, when, okay, so spoilers, we already know Barut has given us a spoiler, but it's going to be full of spoilers. The end scene, when that guy takes the bike and he goes, Ryan's son, bro, I just the potency of that shot was so, like, it just pierces the heart, it because for me it became throughout, I was like feeling for this Ryan Gosling. I was also feeling for Bradley Cooper's character. I was also feeling for the both the kids. I mean, like, you can relate to both of them, and I think that's what really stood out for me, is that all the characters were relatable, and all the characters had their own flaws of morality. I think at the end, this is one thought that came in my mind, that I do not know who's right and wrong. I think everybody is right and everybody is equally wrong, in what they've done. But the fact that our society is so fragile really was standing in front of me naked, and that was heartbroken. Like, it was heartbreaking for me that, what, this is this is actually how we function, and it is so feeble. It's very weak at certain places. It is not as robust as we think. It is. It's not good or bad. So yeah, that's.
I mean, you guys did summarize it very well, and I feel like I relate to what you all said, and I also feel like this film, the reason, on an emotional level, it definitely stuck with me, but it also, the reason why I keep revisiting it is also because on a technical level, in terms of the writing of it, it sways so far off the beaten path, and we'll come to that also. But before that, I just wanted to ask y'all, what do y'all think about the meaning of it all? What really, in terms of thematically, what was this film really going for, according to y'all? Like, what was it really speaking about?
I think on a very obvious level, it was speaking about the impact of fatherhood on a child, and so I think that was the overarching theme. At least that's what came out to me, and overall, like so that was overall, and then when you break down the three storylines that are going about, then they have their own sort of messaging to it, in terms of the Gosling story is about I'll go to any lengths to protect or provide for my family. The Bradley Cooper line goes with, I'll even though the world thinks I'm a hero, I'm ridden with guilt. And the last one was a good combination of all of them, but I think that's where the overarching theme of fatherhood really comes into play. So yeah, I think that's what the film spoke to me about. It was very family oriented in that sense.
So I think I don't think I've been able to crack it, but as much it's a quest, for me to be able to really crack what the film was about. But till where the point that I've reached is right now, I think it's about karma, and karma not in a sense of revenge. I think karma as a concept is like a highly misunderstood concept where most of us, and even me including, we used to think that if you do something wrong, something bad going to happen to you. I think karma in a way that the fact that whatever we do, irrespective of if somebody is seeing it or no, even if like we get away with every kind of all crimes and everything, still that impacts our life in such a deep level, or all our actions and thoughts, that they kind of make us who we are. So even if, for example, Bradley Cooper's character was the first one to shoot the bullet, and Ryan Gosling shot later, for example, and then he lies about it. He's like, no, that guy, he shot me first, So I think that kind of a internal conflict, which brings me to the second point of Barut, who's talking about that the second part of the film, the middle part, is about guilt. I think that's where it comes from. But I felt like essentially the film, because every character embodies this conflict of being wrong, of being very, very wrong in themselves and kind of getting away with it. Even Ryan Gosling's son at the end, he gets away with it. He's been a bad friend too. It's not just the other guy who's been a bad. He's also been a bad friend. He's also like hit his friend and but he gets away with it. I think that at the end really raised a very important question for me. I think that is what the film was about. That even if you do the worst crime in the world and if you get away, untouched, unscathed, do you think you will be able to be happy? I think that was a very self-reflective thing that came to my mind. I thought that's what it all is about.
Barut, you said you felt the first part was about love, the second
Friendship.
part was about guilt, and the third was about
Friendship.
sorry, I couldn't hear. Friendship. Okay. Yeah, so yeah. So obviously, yeah, it is about that also, and like in my rewatching and understanding of it, it's what I've got also from the film is that it's inherently about the legacy that fathers pass on to their sons. It's that lineage, the traits that lie in people's blood and how deep it runs, the characteristics of a father, and that given on to their son. Like Ryan Gosling's son, Dehan, I think the actor's name is, he never really met his father, and in spite of that, the similarities that both of them shared were so powerful. It's almost like the film was telling you that the people that we are so closely intertwined with the people that our parents are, that it's so hard for us to separate ourselves from the shadow that our parents cast on us, for good and for bad, because him as a son and the other son, basically both of the fathers and both of their sons, for good or for bad, they have given their sons so much of themselves that even when he is fathered, Ryan Gosling's son is fathered by Mahershala Ali's character, it's almost like he has this surrogate father who is in fact a good influence, right? I mean, you would agree that Mahershala Ali as a father was a much better father than Ryan Gosling's character. And he brought him up in such a homely, healthy sort of an environment, as opposed to this outlaw that was Ryan Gosling. He was so much of an influence over his son than Ryan Gosling ever was. But in spite of that, we see Ryan Gosling's son sort of wavering towards his very natural inclination is towards crime or towards violence that his father has sort of almost passed on to him in this very intangible sort of a way. So in that sense, I feel like the movie is really about this sort of intangible sort of feelings that are passed on from one generation to the next, the sort of passing of the torch, or like a baton pass that, you know, goes on through one generation to the next to the next. And inherently I feel like that's what the film really was about, you know, because it's almost like we never really wash off the things that our parents give to us, and that's what I feel, that's what makes it so interesting. Because now coming to the structure of it, this sort of multiple protagonist structure of it, the way the reason why it works so well is because it's very closely related to the themes of it, which is basically this passing of these sort of traits from one generation to the next. It's not, you know, often you feel like in films it's almost like a gimmick where the protagonist dies and you're left with a feeling of emptiness, but here it ties into the themes of it, which is basically, it's almost like his son is reborn as himself, and this film is sort of continuing. So I want to talk to you all now, since we are segueing into the structure of it, you know, that we've already sort of spoken into this 3-act sort of a structure. But did you all think it worked? Did you all think it actually worked? Because the first part is obviously Ryan Gosling and we are with him. But when he dies and the film takes a turn now towards Bradley Cooper, who is now the central character, whose lens we now choose to view the film through, you know, did you all feel like there was a disconnect? Did you all feel like, I wish Ryan Gosling was still alive? Or did you all feel like it was a smooth transition? Because it takes like a lot of bravery as a writer for a writer to write a character, have the audience empathize with him for 30 minutes, and then give them such a big switch and ask them to now follow another character's journey altogether.
So, I mean,
so did you all think that worked for y'all?
Like, so since I come from a non-film background, I think that that's what made the film really unique. Yeah, like because you spend that time building up this character, and then you and you just kill him. So you know, you automatically feel like, okay, this is like, see, the beginning storyline, right? If you go to see, firstly, everyone knows Ryan Gosling. It gives a very drive vibe in terms of who the character is and all of that. So you kind of know where the film is heading. Like in terms of he has a kid he didn't know about. He has to provide for the kid, so he starts robbing banks. You kind of know where the film's heading, and then you kill him, and that's when you're like, okay, oh fuck, now where's it gonna go? So I think it was done really well. One other thing that was done well is that when Brad Pitt was introduced, Bradley Cooper. How do I say Brad Pitt? When Bradley Cooper was introduced,
you mean Bradley Cooper?
The introduction of Ray Liotta, and you know that entire thing where he rats out the cops and all that, right? That entire element was what made the Bradley Cooper scene also interesting, you know. So it never felt like there was, like, although I wished that I did miss his presence in the movie, and I did like think that, and because the writing made us liked him so much, so that was there. But I wasn't like disappointed with where the film was going, because they always kept me hooked in terms of what was happening with the other characters as well.
Yeah. But I personally did feel like I was watching two separate stories unfold, because Ryan Gosling's story, it had a natural conclusion where it was crash and burn, and he came to an end. But then Bradley's sort of story, even the themes of it, about the corruption in the sort of police system, you know, the things that he was dealing with, I felt were a bit far away from what Ryan Gosling was facing. And maybe in the first viewing I felt like, oh, how are these two really related? But then of course all the dots sort of joined back together at the end.
So bro, I think I agree with Gaurav what you said, but also I kind of like really agree with Barut also, because so it is a disconnect, but it wasn't that big a disconnect, and I'll tell you why. It is a disconnect for me personally, because I think I've really, and I think most of us have grown up on films of Bollywood films of Shah Rukh Khan, where there is this one hero and he's the protagonist and we see the entire world through his eyes. So the narrative is based on his journey, it's like him being till the end with us. And now I think that is what was really when Ryan Gosling died, because I was so invested in him that he's my hero, that same thing that we have. And then when he dies, it was kind of a shock. But I think as soon as the film went on to Bradley Cooper's character, that's where I just gave into it. And I gave into it because I think this is what I've realized, is that the film does not follow the character's narrative structure. The whole structure of the film, I think, depends on one incident, and that one inciting incident, which is of the shooting between Bradley Cooper and Ryan Gosling. So it is like what happens before that incident, which is like a lead up to that incident, that all the bank robbery and building up of Ryan's conflicts and his son and everything. And then Brad is introduced and he kills him. He's introduced in a way that he's already done wrong. Like he's introduced at a point of being the villain, for example, for us. And then we get into how, as Barut said again, that how guilty he is. So I think that really makes us empathize with him, that he's not happy killing somebody, but he's in a system which is so fucked up that he can't even say the truth. He has to save his life first, and that survival and that fear, I think, really again connects with us.
Yeah, and also you would think that the first and the third acts or sections of the film you would think are connected because they're related to Ryan Gosling and his son, right? But the middle act is essentially about Bradley Cooper dealing with this corrupt police system. And at first glance, it almost seems like there's no connection between the other two parts of the film. It's almost like, why did we not start off the second half of the film already following Dane DeHaan's character or Ryan Gosling's son's character? Why really do we really have Bradley Cooper's section in between? Really, that could be chopped off. Ryan Gosling died. We didn't necessarily have to follow Bradley Cooper's character there. We could have easily started the second half of the film with Dane DeHaan's character. But the reason that we are following Bradley Cooper's character is not necessarily about him fighting the police system. It's essentially that he himself is struggling with the man that he is. There is a thematic connect even to the second half or the middle portion of the film, because Bradley Cooper as a man is struggling with what he is versus what his father wants him to be. His father wanted him to be an advocate, right? And join the legal system. And he wanted to be a man by himself. He chose to be a police officer because he did not want to stand in his father's shadow. But really what happens even in his section of the film is that he can't resist it. At the end, he is now almost what his father wanted him to be. It's almost like he couldn't escape what his father wanted him to be. That shadow that his father cast on him was so strong, it led him eventually to be exactly what his father chose for him, or the path that he was led to be at. So even at first glance you might think like it's really not connected, but inherently the theme brings out even in Bradley Cooper's section of the film, really, because he as a man comes into his own. Which leads me to segueing to the structure of it, because the structure of it is new, but there is an easier structure that he could have used. He could have just told the story in a non-linear fashion. He could have cut between Ryan Gosling's story and Dane DeHaan's story. It's almost like these two characters that are growing in parallel. It could have been like this because essentially what he's doing is connecting the past and the present. It's making a connection between the father and the son and what really has transpired between them in all those years. So even those shots, where there's a shot in the first section of the film where Ryan Gosling is on his bike and he's just driving through the woods, and it's a high angle, right? And he's just through the pines he's driving. And then in the third section, it's his son now, except that the son is on a cycle, right? And it's that same shot. It's the same. It's an echo of what his father was doing at that point. And these echoes reverberate throughout the film. If you look at shots, there are like so many shots which between the first and the third section, or even the second section, they recur, and that's what creates this subliminal effect that this film is affecting us on a deeper level. Is that he's constantly bringing the past back in these shots, the composition of them. Even in that shot where he's just riding through the son and their father, it's this high angle, and then that beautiful soundtrack kicks in, almost instrumental to the film.
I mean, while we spoke about fatherhood, it's also a little bit about how the system also creates um, good and bad moments. Like in the sense of, I also think that the entire Ray Liotta part came into play because if you remember when they were caught finally, it was said that these guys were essentially paying or putting weapons in the hands of robbers who were causing crime in society. And it doesn't that also serve as somewhat of a backdrop to what firstly pushed Ryan Gosling into crime, and also when Bradley Cooper's character was introduced, what made him feel guilty even though he was proclaimed a hero, and how that indirectly affected the lives of the kids in terms of that guy going into drugs, both the kids being into drugs, and eventually going on their father's roots. Don't you think maybe the writing was trying to talk a little more about the overall system as opposed to just fatherhood, maybe?
I think that's very interesting what he's brought out here, and I think that also relates to Gaurav's point, that why choose this structure and why not just do it in so many different ways where it probably would have been easy. And so like I genuinely think that, of course, it could have been done in a lot of different ways, but the way it has been done now, for me at least, it makes sense because, as Bharat was saying, that there is so much of similarity between the struggle of Ryan Gosling's character, the struggle of Brad Cooper's character, and the struggle of their kids. It is so kind of overlapping that they're pushed into things that probably like I think all of them are outlaws. All three of them are outlaws. They've done things that are morally wrong, and yet they've done it for very primal reasons of survival. That if they wouldn't have done it, they wouldn't have survived. And then I think that also structuring it in this way, I think, makes it very, very special and important, because it is not just about one guy's internal struggle. It is not just also about a struggle between two people. It is about the struggle each one of us has with the system of the society that we've made, the rules that we've made. It is, I think, it is talking about that. And if we are talking about something like that, so I think this narrative structure really opens up our view, just from being about one character to two characters in a relationship to the entire world and us. Because Ryan Gosling's dead, cool, I need to make peace with that. But hey, Brad's problem is just as important and as heartbreaking. But cool, he's made it into politics now. That's cool. But wait, the issue with Ryan's son now, which is a different generation, is still the fucking same. It is still just as heartbreaking and complex. So I think it was I by the end of it, I could really start seeing me and my friends being in that kind of a situation and totally being like crazily cornered by these rules.
So did you all find the ending? What did you all think of the ending? Did you feel like Dane DeHaan's character, who we know is going to have now a troubled life, just because he has that blood inside of him, that blood of that streak of violence, or that streak of being an outlaw, did you all feel like at the end he overcame that? Did you all feel like he's finally escaped whatever his father was, or made peace with whatever his father was? Did you feel like the movie actually had a happy ending in that sense, or did you feel like he's destined or doomed to actually be just like his father and come to the same horrific end?
I think it I don't think he was looking to get away from what his father was, or even to redeem his father. I think he never knew who his father was. He was figuring out who his father is. And the last shot of him riding out on a bike, even when he's not ever ridden a bike before, and that's the first time, and he kicks it, it doesn't work. Second time he kicks it, then he goes on. I think that itself is how he's getting to know his father. I think that's where his journey of getting to know who his father was starts. And like, of course, there's a lot of prelude to that when he goes into that with the man, who Ryan used to rob banks and all. But yeah, that's very superficial. Now he's getting to know his father. So I don't think he's actually trying to get away or consciously become a bad person or a good person. But I think, yes, it was a very happy ending that was there. But it was such a beautiful happy ending that even though it was a happy ending, I'll tell you why, it was still heartbreaking. It was very happy for me because this guy did not kill Brad's son. When that shot comes where that son is hurt and he's sitting at home and everybody's there, he did not kill his son. I think that is...
You fear for them at the end. You just
Realize,
fear what these young people
yeah,
will
oh
do.
Shit. And when he has Brad at the gunpoint and this guy asks him, is my son okay? And this guy doesn't answer. At that moment, bro, I'm thinking that he's dead. He's killed him. And I think that is just superbly done. And when you really finally reveal that he did not kill the son, I think that is the triumph of humanity. Over everything, that something bad can happen to anybody. I think that's why it's a very happy ending. That this guy did not kill anybody. And I think that by doing that, I also think he was trying to prove his father's innocence in some way.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, it's almost like... Go on, Baru.
No, I don't have. I mean, what you covered it.
Even
Actually,
I feel like the same, because when Ryan Gosling dies, you feel like this is a guy who had the best of intentions at heart, He really wanted to do good by his family and by his son, and he died in vain is almost our feeling when he passes away. And then, of course, his son comes along, and right at the end, we fear that Dane DeHaan's character will go the same route his father did. But then, when he chooses not to take Bradley Cooper's character's life, and when this such a powerful shot of him sort of riding away, to that place beyond the pines, he finally escaped the sort of claustrophobic town that had these huge pines, and he just escapes. It's just such a powerful sort of a shot to see him, that he's finally now, he has redeemed himself, and in that sense he's also redeemed his father, that he has the potential to be a good, clean person and not carry the sins that his father sort of gave to him.
Yeah, bro. I think that's beautiful. I think that's why you make a film, just to be able to communicate that, yeah, it's really bad out there, it's fucked up, but you can do it. I think that's the real struggle, I think, to be able to do that and not sound cheesy, to be able to do that and really make somebody feel,
Yeah.
I think that, yeah, and it turns out beautiful.
Yeah, and those shots are so powerful, whenever we are sort of connecting the shots in the past to the shots in the present, any of those shots are so powerful. It really gets to you. So I think we've spoken a lot about the writing of the film, but I think we can talk now a little bit about the direction or the technical aspects of the film, because I felt like the film was extremely visceral. Like, even we can just discuss like the opening shot. There's this opening shot, it's a long take. He's inside this cabin, the camera sort of follows him from behind. He's walking through the whole circus or the whole amusement sort of park into this huge circular spherical cage, and I could not figure for the life of me where they hid the stuntman. Okay, because Ryan Gosling on his bike enters the cage, and I'm like, where did they hide the cut? I could not figure out, and he has started riding and zooming, and the sound just blares and it just draws you in. Like, that's first long take is just
Oh, there was no cut or what? I didn't know that.
No,
I didn't realize.
Watch it again. There's just no cut, and he's just walking straight on the bike, and he enters this sort of a world, and we're drawn in completely. I thought it was great.
And I think I'm just coming back to writing, but I just wanted to, this reminded me, the first shot of the film really reminded me how the film doesn't give a fuck about genre. Whoever has ever talked about genre in film, this film just goes out there and just tells you, fuck you, I don't care. You know, it's like, I don't care. Because when the film started and I was watching this for the first time, I've never read anything about the film. I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna watch this. I did not think it would turn out to be this emotionally taxing and so important. It stars
Yeah,
as
dude,
if
like
it's-
on Netflix, I saw the preview, and the preview is about Gosling, and you know that photo moment. They take the photo with the bike, and I'm
Yeah,
like, is this a family movie, dude? Then
It's a
it
rom-com,
fucking
yeah.
comes out to be something else.
I thought it to be a rom-com, just like how Bharat said. And when it started, that first shot, as you said, I thought this is something like a Drive. This is something that's going to go into being an outlaw, a cool film. You know, one more film of Ryan being cool. But then it just.
But he
it
is
just-
cool. He is so
Yeah,
damn
he-
cool.
He
Yeah,
is.
he's so
He is.
damn
Let's
cool.
get to the.
Bro,
let's get to
he-
the performances as well.
How cool is he? That's insane.
Agreed. He is. But yeah,
Dude,
bro, I
you know
think,
that
yeah.
was another interesting thing like the and this is such a reflection, dude. That Gosling's character doesn't give a fuck about what anybody thinks, and the more he does that, the more we fall in love with him. Whereas Cooper tries to be the good guy, tries to even fix the system by ratting his bad cops out, and we just continue not liking him,
Yeah,
which is like so fucking cool, dude. How the hell did they do that?
Yeah. But I think it's also because of the difference in their sort of relation with their family. You know, because Ryan Gosling, in spite of his best efforts, he feels so much, and he's showing it in this sort of in a completely negative manner. But it's there to be seen. But Bradley Cooper almost seems distant. You know, with his son, he doesn't have the best of relationship. You know, even in that shot, there's this one in that one scene where he's sort of sitting and working beside the pool, and his son sort of enters the pool, and they just share this look of we don't know each other. You know, there's that sort of distance that this father and son are feeling for each other, which is why I feel like there's that dissonance between Bradley Cooper's character. We don't feel for him as much as we do for Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about the technical aspect, I don't know so much, but I think I really liked how they filmed the bank robberies, you know, and how when he gets out, they just go into these fast-paced shots and this sound of the bike engine, and because it's so what it did for me is that it really made me think he's not going to get away with it. Okay, first time he got away with it, second time no way, third time no way, he's not going to get away with it. And even when he finally goes without his friend, you know, even then there was this constant tension when that bank robbery is happening, and that bank robbery happens in a very matter of fact way. You know, I've never seen a bank robbery happen in such a matter of fact, like, yeah, it's cool, you know, just he doesn't he's putting money in his bag, you know. It is funny, it is scary at the
He just walks in and he just gets on the podium and he's like, get the fuck down.
Exactly, and that is so fucking detailed and so beautiful. And I think the treatment there, you know, that he gets out on the bike, there are these fast cuts, and you know, you don't. I think that was not that it's never
I
been
think,
done before.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's documentary, but it was definitely very close to like they were generally going for a realism that's generally not seen in action movies. Because even if you see the chase sequences, there's this one long chase sequence where the entirety of the chase sequence happens from the perspective inside of a police car, you know. I think this is when Bradley Cooper is chasing him or something. Completely. And it's a really long take, but there is no sense of, okay, we're going to cut to a drone shot now and we're going to see them. It's always happening inside the perspective of these characters, you know. It's either happening like you're sitting inside the police car and looking at him, or it's on these long lenses, and you can tell these are people that are actually going fast. There's no artifice here in the shot taking, you know. These people are actually, like, there's no cheating this. There are these long lenses. You can feel the speed of these people.
What do you all think? What was it that you all didn't like about the movie? Or anything that could be improved?
Bro, I might get a lot of slack for this, But
It's okay. It's not like we have a worldwide audience, bro.
I know. And I'm not even cared about, like, yeah, of course,
But slack from whom? The two people watching us. It's okay.
slack from you, all the Ryan Gosling fans, everybody, whoever cares about him. I love him, bro. But I just felt that, like, I've seen a lot of films of his, and I just felt that he was doing the same thing again. As Barod also pointed out, that it doesn't matter to him, and he looks damn cool. He does it well. It's going with the character. I'm not saying it's a bad performance. What I'm saying is that the film was hitting notches up with everything else, with every single thing else. Even with Brad's acting, even with Brad's performance, even with the performance of the kids, the teenagers, And I just felt that Ryan Gosling is just the same person who I saw 2 days back in Drive. Or maybe he could be that same guy who's in Blade Runner, So I just felt that, of course it works, but somewhere I was like, this is Ryan Gosling, I know he's not the character, but for me it could be a very personal kind of a dichotomy and a dilemma as well. But I just felt for everybody else, I could see them beyond who their star personality was. I could really see the character in them. In him, I was like, yeah, I know, I know him. I know him. He's that guy. And I think that could have been improved probably. But other than that, bro, if they would have tried to improve something, I think they would have fucked up.
Really? Like, don't
you
think that the thing that I feel is that the in the third act, when they show the friendship between these two kids, I feel that could have been shown in a stronger way. Like, I didn't like the idea. What the movie was trying to say is that the friendship built up, then they found out about their truths, and then they broke apart. That's kind of what it was trying to say, right? But then when, so that the entire build up of their friendship, I think, should have been more like, it would have been even a more emotionally interesting thing to see that, like, a really close bond break up because of the past of the fathers, like that. Like, the fact that they shared a few joints and all was cool, but I think they could have spent a little more time building their friendship and then breaking it off to make it more impactful.
You're frozen, Barod. I don't know if it's only for me. Okay, but yeah, we heard you. About building their friendship more. Okay. I honestly felt like it would be Bradley Cooper's section only. I really felt like I get why it was there, and I really appreciate it now, but I really felt like at that point I got a bit restless, in that I felt like this didn't have a connection with the rest of the film. I really felt like if there was a way for me to go straight away to Dane DeHaan's character and see the consequences immediately of what his father has done, it would have been a more it would have been a more, maybe a little, it would have been a more normal way of doing things also. This is not, I don't think it's a better way of doing it, but in fact I love the film for what it is, so I wouldn't really change anything. But if I had to, I would probably say, yeah, other than that, honestly, the soundtrack, man, I loved the soundtrack of it. I don't know what it is. It just, there's this air of just being grand, and just these cymbals crashing, and just the drama of it just hits you, especially that shot where again Dane DeHaan sort of riding on his bike through the woods, and it just comes on and
I think that's
sweeps
your favorite shot.
you.
I think that's a favorite shot in the film.
Yeah, it just sweeps you away, the music of it and the story, and it just, I love the soundtrack of it also. And other than that, I feel like the setting of it, the film that is set in this town that is full of pines, this place, almost like everyone's trying to sort of escape. Ryan Gosling wants to leave right at the start of the film. He wants to escape this town and leave, but his family doesn't let him. Bradley Cooper wants to escape the corruption of the system. He wants to escape this town, and he can't. And finally, at the end, It's Dane DeHaan's character who is allowed to finally leave and sort of come clean, and it's almost like he has escaped the shadow that his father sort of cast on him and sort of rides into the sunset and like brings the film full circle.
Yeah, I think it serves beautifully as a metaphor for the entire world, you know, like the kind of structures we've built. I think they've really put it very beautifully in the film, which is a very contemporary contemporary conflicts of these institutions that we've created, you know. So I think the place beyond the pines is somewhere all of us are really aspiring for, and something that, you know, exists within, you know, like ourselves breaking away from it, you know, as you said, you know, at the end this guy really breaks away. And I think with him breaking away, I think all the people, Brad's character, his son, his own father, his mother, everybody breaks away because of this one guy, not because of the last shot. I think that was because by the end of it I was like, this is not a story of somebody I don't know. I know him. It's me. You know, it was like, yeah, it's happened. It happens. I know. You know, this happens every day. I can.
It had a mythical quality to it. No, it almost felt like it was a fable.
Exactly. It was spiritual. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I also like how you call him Brad. His name. I've never heard anyone calling Bradley Cooper Brad.
Yeah, like he's a fucking chuddy buddy.
Yeah. But I want to know if y'all have. So those are all the things that I had written down in my notes. Y'all can tell me if y'all found something that y'all want to talk about the film that I might have missed out.
Bro, I think I'm full. Baru,
I'm
you
good.
Wanna go?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Cool. So I think this brings us to the end of our first podcast, which was about The Place Beyond the Pines, Gaurav's choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
First episode done. I hope whoever's watching, listening, I hope y'all enjoyed this. I hope y'all have watched the film beforehand, because major spoilers. We should have said this at the start. We're saying it at the end. I hope y'all have watched the film beforehand. If not, go and watch it still, because I think it'll still work in spite of you knowing everything. But
but it was fun.
A warning for
It
all
was
future
fun.
episodes. Please watch the film beforehand.
Yeah, guys, thanks. We'll keep doing this. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.